Review 1. What even is this place? The Gristle Museum was hands down the strangest and worst experience I've had. Imagine a room that smells like burnt meat and musty carpet, and you've got the vibe here. The so-called world's largest gristle nugget looked like an old, greasy chunk of something that should have been thrown out ages ago. And the interactive gristle tasting station? Just a plate of chewy, rubbery bits that Doug kept encouraging us to savour. Not only was it unappetizing, but I left feeling slightly traumatized. Skip this place unless you have a strange fascination with bad ideas. Review 2. This was honestly a nightmare. I thought it would be quirky, but it was just awful. The exhibits were a joke. Seriously, Gristle Through History was just photos of meat cuts printed on a piece of cardboard. And don't even get me started on the tasting experience. Imagine chewing on an old shoe and you're halfway there. Doug kept saying gristle was an acquired taste, but trust me, no one should be acquiring this. The whole place felt like a bad high school project gone wrong. Review 3. 2 stars for effort, but this museum needs a reality check. It's like someone had an idea for a joke and took it way too far. The interactive chewing station was weirdly gross. You're handed this tough, fatty chunk and expected to appreciate the texture. It's just no. And the displays felt thrown together. There was even a Grizzle Through the Ages timeline that was just pictures of meat glued to poster board. I felt a bit sorry for Doug, honestly. He's clearly passionate, but this museum is a bizarre tribute to leftover meat scraps. Review 4. I've been to some oddball museums, but the Gristle Museum takes the cake, or maybe the steak. The place smelled horrendous, like stale meat and bleach, and the exhibits were almost insulting. Gristle Around the World was literally just a few sad lumps labelled with country names, and Doug, bless his heart, kept pushing us to try the tasting experience, which was exactly as gross as it sounds. Do yourself a favour and go anywhere else. Review 5. 1 star only because 0 stars isn't an option. The Gristle Museum was an absolute mess from start to finish. The exhibits looked like they were thrown together in a day, with greasy gristle chunks behind glass cases labelled rare finds. And that interactive tasting station? I dared to try it, and I regret every second. Doug kept saying, chew it like a pro, but it was like gnawing on rubber. I spent $10 on a ticket, and I want it back. This place shouldn't even be open. Review 6. I love quirky museums, but the Gristle Museum was downright awful. Every exhibit felt slapped together with 0 thought, and the whole place reeked. I went with friends as a joke, but the joke was on us. Gristle tasting? Just no. It was tough, fatty, and made my stomach turn. And Doug, he's got enthusiasm, but he really needs a different hobby. Save your time, save your money, and save your taste buds from this one.
Review 1. What a disaster. We thought the Gristle Museum would be a fun family outing, but it turned out to be more of a nightmare. The place smelled like a mix of a butcher shop and a gym locker. The world's largest gristle nugget was literally a rock-hard hunk of fat in a glass case. There was an interactive gristle tasting station, but they just handed out rubbery, chewy chunks that tasted like stale meat jerky. The worst part? They encouraged people to chew it to experience the texture and then spit it into a communal bucket. We left after 10 minutes. Avoid this place at all costs. Review 2. This was hands down the weirdest and worst museum I've ever been to. Every exhibit seemed slapped together like a last-minute science project. Gristle Through the Ages was just a series of badly drawn posters about different cuts of meat. The guide, Doug, was overly enthusiastic, but it came off as creepy. He kept asking visitors if they were brave enough to try gristle, like it was some sort of challenge. The only interactive part was the chewing station, which had a line of people pretending to enjoy rubbery bits of fat. If you're looking for a fun time, keep looking. Review 3. I don't know what I was expecting from a Gristle museum, but it definitely wasn't this. The whole place was basically a shrine to leftover meat bits, which might be funny if it wasn't so gross. The exhibits were weird. Who wants to see gristle frozen in time from historical meat sources? And the interactive tasting station was straight up bizarre. They give you a gristle chunk to chew on, but no warning about the texture. It's like chewing on an eraser. My friend almost gagged. 2 stars because Doug seemed genuinely passionate, but this place needs serious help. Review 4. Horrifying experience. Everything smelled awful, like old meat mixed with dust. The exhibits didn't make sense. There was a Gristle from around the world display, but it was just sad little chunks labeled with countries. The Gristle tasting area was just gross. I thought I'd try it for the experience, but it was like gnawing on old rubber. Doug, the owner, kept shouting, "Chew with pride," which just made it worse. Not worth the ticket price or the stomach ache. Don't waste your time. Review 5. 1 star is generous. The Gristle Museum was a disaster from start to finish. The exhibits were minimal and confusing. Just pictures of meat with captions like Prime Gristle. And the tasting area? Disgusting. They give you what they call authentic gristle pieces to chew on, but it's like a bad dare. Doug was friendly, but his obsession with gristle is downright disturbing. This is the last place you'd want to visit. The whole experience left a bad taste, literally.